Hey guys, okay, today we're working on an '08 RZR. Had some issues with my wheel bearing here, so I decided to pull it all apart, and everybody shows you how to pull it apart, but I'll show you what I found when I got in there. So when I got inside there, the bearing didn't look too bad. It was a little wobbly and a little tight, definitely dry. And so I was going to put a new bearing in it. So I went down to Polaris to get a new bearing, and they don't make this anymore. They don't make this bearing anymore for this hub. So he was looking at my hub, and he pointed out that this area here was not normal, and that it had been rubbing and mashed, and so I needed a new hub. So I took his word for it and purchased a hub. Polaris part number 2204717, a service hub kit with bearing. So I pulled it all apart. The hubs are definitely different, and the bearings are different. I got the bearing in the freezer right now, getting ready to go into this, but I'll go grab it. So as you can see, side by side, the bearings are quite a bit different. Outside diameter is the same. Inside diameter, quite a bit different. The inside diameter on the old hub was right at about 40 millimeters, 39.97. Inside diameter of the new bearing for the hub is right at 43.98, so 4 millimeters difference. I questioned whether or not I could still get the old style bearing, but once he told me that the hub was bad, I just decided to get the upgrade kit. $100. So I guess I'll have to do the other side now. The one thing I did figure out is this snap ring is a bear to get out. I tried it with my trusty channel lock snap ring pliers. They would just deflect enough to where I wouldn't get it closed enough to get it out. Tried some other cheapies I had, they bent, so lo and behold, I had to go buy a new set of snap ring pliers. I went to Napa. They didn't have anything that was any better than what I had. Every other auto parts store on a Saturday, nothing. So I said I would try Harbor Freight, see what they had. I would use it right there at the store, and if it broke, I'd just return it. They're not too far away. So I went down there. This is going to be a shameless plug, but for this Icon snap ring plier set. And it's actually a pretty good quality set. Comes with 7-inch internal, external, bent internal, bent external, all kinds of, and then it came with these big 9 inches, and I needed the 9-inch internal straights. And as you can see, the snap ring is out. These worked pretty darn good. No bending, no deflection. Worked really good, as a matter of fact. And I'm not used to that from Harbor Freight, but it worked really good. So now I'm going to put my bearing back in the freezer, and I'll get back to you when I get the bearing hot and the carrier, or excuse me, the bearing cold and the carrier hot. Alright, so I got my bearing holder warming up in my toaster oven. I keep this around the shop. Bought it for $5 at a yard sale. Works great to put chainsaw cases or anything that needs a bearing in it. You warm it up to about 280, 300 degrees, and put the bearing in the freezer, and they drop right in. No press, no muss, no fuss. I do have a press, but if I can do it this way, it's just way easier than trying to line things up. I am going to put the press to use right now. I got to get these studs out so I can get this disc brace bracket onto the new hub there. So I'm going to go over to the press and do that. Okay, over here at the press, I got it set up. I use this little chunk of aluminum here or hopefully I won't gall the threads because I'm using this chunk of aluminum. And I guess I could put a nut on there. I don't know how much pressure this is going to take to get them out of there. So I'm just going to feel it out here a little bit. And it ain't going to take, it doesn't take much. In fact, it's not even hardly worth using the press. Okay, so I'm pressing these back in. What I got is just a socket here, happens to be a 15 millimeter, and I'm putting it just on this bottom flange area so it has something to push on. Make sure it gets all square and just down till it's snug and do the next one. Okay, take one here. Hopefully this is going to work. Bearing out of the freezer. Perfect. And as that starts to warm up, it'll just, the coldness of the bearing battles the heat of the freaking works like a charm every time. Alright, here we go, putting it back together. I already got the top ball joint in. I'm going to have to replace these ball joints. I just got them on order today. The Polaris dealer didn't have any in stock, so just going to have to put these old worn out ones back in there until I can get the new ones. Luckily they're pretty easy to Okay, that's a 13 millimeter. And I'm going to go check the torque spec. Alright, so torque spec says 21 foot-pounds on these bolts. Alright. So those are torqued. I'll be right back. Okay, so I went and put a little grease for the splines in there. Okay. So that calls for 2 washers. According to the directions, 2 cone washers and 80 foot-pounds on the nut. I'm also going to assemble my steering here. If I remember right, that went on the bottom. Torque on this, 80 foot-pounds. See if I can find a good spot to put that. Perfect. Alright, next up, mounting the brake caliper. Make sure your cable does not go over this or you won't be able to get it in there and lined up. And make sure you have this bolt in before you put this on, because it's a booger to get in there if you don't. And then just got to tighten them down. And we will be done. Put the tire back on. Dunsky.